Somewhere in your phone right now, there is a photo of a ring, or a save the date, or a screenshot of a dress you liked. You already know what marriage means to you, but the real answer to where it came from is far stranger than a church, a ring, or a vow. Marriage feels ancient, timeless, like it was always there, waiting for humans to discover it. It wasn't. For most of your species' existence, nothing like a wedding existed at all. So when did it start? And why? 200,000 years ago, your ancestors lived in small bands, 20, maybe 30 people. No paperwork, no priests, no rings, just survival, shared fire, and shared risk. Anthropologist Helen Fisher spent decades studying this exact question. Her research suggests that long-term pair bonding in humans is old. Very old, but it didn't look anything like modern marriage. Here is the strange part. Pair bonding and marriage are not the same thing. Pair bonding is biological. It is your brain's chemistry rewarding you for sticking close to one partner. Oxytocin, dopamine, vasopressin, chemicals that make closeness feel like safety. Marriage is different. Marriage is a rule book. It is a social contract that says who owns what, who is allowed to have children with whom, and what happens if someone breaks the agreement. Your brain evolved for bonding. Your ancestors invented marriage. That distinction changes everything. For hunter-gatherers, researchers believe pairing was mostly informal. Couples formed, couples separated. There was no ceremony because there was no need for one. Nobody owned land, nobody inherited wealth. There was nothing to protect with a contract. Then something changed the entire trajectory of human relationships. Around 12,000 years ago, humans started farming. Suddenly, for the first time in the story of your species, people owned things that mattered: land, livestock, grain stores that could feed a family through winter or fail and starve them. And once you own something valuable, a new question appears: who gets it when you die? This is where marriage, as you understand it, actually begins. Anthropologist Jack Goody studied societies across the world and found a consistent pattern. Wherever agriculture created inheritable wealth, formal marriage rules appeared almost immediately afterward. Marriage wasn't invented for love, it was invented for property. Let that sit for a second. The institution you may associate with romance was, at its origin, a legal tool for tracking who a farmer's children belonged to. Historian Stephanie Coontz has traced this even further. In her research on the history of marriage, she found that for most of recorded history, marriage across nearly every culture was primarily an economic and political alliance between families. Love was, at best, a bonus. Often it was considered a threat to a marriage's stability, not the foundation of it. Think about that. For thousands of years, falling in love with your spouse was considered slightly reckless. So where does the version of marriage you know come from? The one built on love, choice, and romance. That part is shockingly recent. Koontz's research points to a major shift only a few hundred years ago, largely in Western Europe, when the idea of marrying for love began to spread. It coincided with rising individual wealth and the decline of marriage as a family-arranged survival strategy. In other words, you can only afford to marry for love once you no longer need marriage to survive. This is the twist almost nobody expects. The romantic ideal of marriage isn't ancient wisdom passed down from your ancestors. It's a modern luxury made possible by economic security. Your ancient ancestors weren't less romantic than you. They simply couldn't afford romance as the primary reason to bond for life. Survival came first. Bonding was practical. Here's where the science gets even stranger. Some researchers, including those building on Fisher's work, argue that humans may be biologically wired less for permanent monogamy and more for what's sometimes called serial pair bonding, multiple significant partnerships across a lifetime rather than one unbroken lifelong pairing. If that's true, lifelong marriage may be less of a biological instinct and more of a cultural invention layered on top of a much more flexible instinct underneath. Your body might be built for connection. Your culture is what decided that connection had to last forever, be exclusive, and be legally documented. That reframes something you may have never questioned. The pressure you feel around commitment, around defining a relationship, around making things official, some of that pressure isn't purely emotional. It's inherited from thousands of years of property law dressed up as tradition. None of this means love isn't real. It means the structure around love, the ceremony, the paperwork, the rings, is a far younger invention than the feelings it's built to contain. Your ancestors bonded because their brains rewarded closeness with chemical safety. Later, humans formalized that bonding because farming created wealth that needed protecting. Even later, cultures began layering romance on top of a system that was never originally designed to hold it. Every layer got added at a different point in human history, for a completely different reason than the one before it. So the next time you see a wedding, or scroll past an engagement post, or think about what commitment is supposed to look like, remember what you're actually looking at. Not one ancient tradition. 3 separate inventions, stacked on top of each other, spanning 200,000 years. A brain that evolved to bond, a society that learned to formalize that bond to protect property, and a culture only a few centuries old that decided to call it love. There is still a photo of a ring on your phone, but now you know it isn't just a symbol of romance. It's the most recent layer of something your ancestors built for reasons that had almost nothing to do with love at all.